Imagine this. You're 22, working long hours just to survive. Then you meet a man who makes you feel seen, loved, and chosen. He promises you forever. But the moment you need him most, you find out you're pregnant, and he walks away. No goodbye. No explanation. Just gone. And that's only the beginning of her story. Her name is Amelia. And the man she loved? George, a billionaire's son. And the child he never stayed for would one day become the reason he came back. But not in the way you expect. It all started on an ordinary Tuesday morning. Amelia worked at a small cafe called Morning Light. Nothing fancy. Just warm coffee and long hours.
6 days a week.
Sometimes more. Most people walked in, got their coffee, and left. But one man didn't. That morning, George walked in. Tailored suit. Quiet confidence. The kind of man who clearly didn't belong in a place like that. He ordered a black coffee. When Amelia handed it to him, their fingers brushed. Just for a second. He looked up, smiled. Not a polite smile, a real one. You have the kindest eyes I've seen in a long time. And somehow that small moment changed everything. After that day, he kept coming back. Every morning.
Same time.
Same order. At first, it was just small talk. How's your day? Busy as usual. But slowly, it became something more. He started staying longer, waiting for her breaks, asking real questions. What do you actually want in life? No one had asked her that in years. She told him the truth. I want to be a nurse, but I can't afford it. He didn't interrupt, didn't judge. He just listened. And for the first time in a long time, Amelia felt like she mattered. Their connection grew fast. Too fast, maybe. But there was a problem. George's world was nothing like hers. He came from money. Old money, power, and expectations. His parents had already planned his future. A wealthy woman. A strategic marriage. A perfect image. Amelia didn't fit into that world at all. So they kept it a secret. And sometimes secret love feels the most real. He would pick her up after work. Late nights, quiet places. No cameras. No expectations. They went to rooftops with city views, empty parks, even a beach, an hour away from the noise. It felt like a different life. A life where none of the rules mattered. He brought her small gifts. Nothing too loud. Just thoughtful. Flowers. A warm coat when winter came. And one night, a simple silver necklace. A tiny heart. That necklace would become the only thing she had left of him. One night under the stars, everything felt perfect. George held her hands, looked her in the eyes, and said, Amelia, I don't care what my family wants. Someday, I'm going to marry you. I'm going to give you the life you deserve. She believed him, every word, because in that moment, it felt real. For 6 months, they lived in that world, cooking together, laughing over nothing, falling asleep next to each other. It felt like forever, until one night, everything changed. It was raining hard. George showed up at her apartment, soaked, quiet, and different. Something was wrong. Amelia, we need to talk. Her heart dropped.
She grabbed his hands.
Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. I love you. But he didn't say it back. That's when she knew. My family knows, he said. They gave me a choice. You or everything. The room went silent. What are you saying? She whispered. His voice changed, cold, distant. People like us, we don't belong together. I have responsibilities. I can't throw my life away. In that moment, every promise he made disappeared. Tears filled her eyes. What about us? What about everything you said? He didn't answer. I'm sorry, he said quietly. This was a mistake. A mistake? 6 months. reduced to one word. He placed an envelope on the table. Money. Then he walked out, didn't look back, and just like that he was gone. That night, Amelia cried until she couldn't anymore. She held that small silver necklace and whispered, "How could you leave me like this?" 2 weeks later, everything changed again. She stared at the test in her hand. Positive. Her hands shook. Fear hit first, then something else.
Love.
She placed her hand on her stomach,
Took a deep breath.
and whispered, "It's you and me now. I'm not leaving you." But she had no idea how hard that promise would become, because raising a child alone was only the beginning of her fight. 7 years later, the boy he walked away from was fighting for his life, and the only person who could save him was the father who never stayed. She never called him, never asked for help, not once. Until now. It happened on an ordinary afternoon. Amelia was at work,
Busy.
tired, trying to get through another long shift. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something told her to pick it up. "Hello." A voice on the other end, urgent, shaking. "Are you Jayson's mother?" Her heart stopped. Yes, what happened? He collapsed at school. Everything went silent. And in that moment, her worst fear became real. By the time she reached the hospital, Jayson was already on a bed, machines surrounding him, doctors moving fast. He looked so small, too small. "Mommy," he whispered weakly. She grabbed his hand instantly. "I'm here, baby. I'm right here." But inside, she was breaking. Hours passed. Tests, scans, waiting. Then the doctor walked in. "Serious. We need to talk." Her chest tightened. "Your son has a rare heart condition." A pause. "He needs surgery. Urgently." "How urgent?" she asked. The doctor didn't hesitate. "Days." And then came the part that destroyed her. "The surgery is expensive. Very expensive." He gave her a number. It didn't even feel real. Amelia shook her head slowly. "I don't have that kind of money." The doctor looked at her gently. "I'm sorry, but without it, we can't proceed." 3 days. That's all they gave her. That night, she sat beside Jayson's bed, holding his small hand, listening to the machines. "I'm going to fix this," she whispered. "I promise." But deep down,
She didn't know how.
she had nothing left. No savings, no family, no one to call, except him. The one person she swore she would never go back to. George. She stared at her phone. For a long time, her hands trembled. 7 years of pain, sitting in one decision. Before she could decide, something unexpected happened. A nurse walked in quietly. "I found something in his old records," she said. Amelia looked up.
Confused.
"There's a name listed as the father." A pause. "George." Amelia's heart dropped. "I didn't call him," the nurse added softly, then hesitated. "But someone should." That one call changed everything. Later that night, the hospital doors opened, and George walked in. Same presence, same face, but something was different. He looked older, heavier, like life had caught up with him. He stepped into the room and froze. Jayson, lying there, connected to machines. His son. He didn't move for a second. Then slowly, he dropped to his knees. "Is he mine?" His voice broke. Amelia didn't answer immediately. She just looked at him. 7 years. Of silence. Of pain. Of doing everything alone. And now, he was here. "You left," she said quietly. Her voice wasn't loud, but it hit harder than anything. "You left me. You left him." George couldn't look at her. "I tried to find you," he said. My family, they blocked everything. I was weak. I chose them. Tears ran down his face. I regretted it every single day. But some damage doesn't disappear with apologies. Amelia shook her head slowly. Do you know what it's like to hear your child ask where his father is? Her voice cracked. I had to lie to him. Every single time. George broke.
Completely.
But then the doctor walked in again. We don't have much time. The room went quiet. He needs surgery now. The father needs to sign and cover the cost. Everything froze. This was it. The hardest choice of her life. Hold on to her pain, or save her son. Tears streamed down her face. She looked at George, then at Jayson, then whispered, "Save him. That's all I want from you." George didn't hesitate. "I will." That night, everything changed. He signed every paper, paid everything. No questions. The surgery was scheduled. And for the first time in 7 years, they were in the same room, not as lovers, but as parents. But what happens when the man who broke you becomes the one your child needs most? If you were Amelia, would you ever forgive him? Comment yes or no. Like, share, and subscribe. Because what happens after this changes everything. The surgery was over, but the hardest part was just beginning. Because saving his life didn't fix what was already broken. George came back, paid everything, and stayed. But now, they all had to face something harder than money. Each other. The hospital became their world. Days blurred into nights. Nights into waiting. Some mornings, Jayson would smile. Weak but smiling. "Mommy, can you read my story?" Amelia would smile back, even when her eyes were tired. Other days, the pain was too much. He would cry, and she would hold his hand, pretending to be strong. But when he fell asleep, she would break. Quietly. Alone. George saw it. Every time. But he didn't say much. He just stayed. Night after night. In that same uncomfortable chair. Still in his suit. The billionaire, who once had everything, now sitting in silence, watching his son fight to live. And for the first time, money couldn't fix how he felt. He brought Jayson small toys. Nothing expensive. Just simple things. He read him stories. Even when his voice got tired. He learned how to help him breathe when the asthma got bad. He stayed through the nights. The long ones. The quiet ones. He wasn't trying to be perfect anymore. He was just trying to be there. For Amelia, that changed everything. And nothing at the same time. She was grateful. Of course she was. Her son was alive. But every time she looked at George, she saw that night. The rain. The silence. The moment he walked away. Some evenings, she would sit in the hallway alone.
And cry.
"Why now?" she whispered once. "Why come back now?" Because healing isn't instant. One night, everything came to the surface. Jayson was asleep. Machine steady. Room quiet. George finally spoke. "I know I don't deserve to be here." Amelia didn't look at him. "I was scared," he continued. "Not of losing money, but of losing everything I knew. I chose wrong." Silence filled the room. "I thought I could live with it, but I couldn't." His voice broke. "Every day, I thought about you." Amelia finally looked at him, her eyes filled with tears. "You didn't just leave me," she said quietly. "You left your son." That hit harder. "I worked 3 jobs," she continued, "while pregnant. I cried in the bathroom at night so he wouldn't hear me. I had to choose between food and medicine." Her voice cracked. "And every time he asked about you, I lied." The room went still. George couldn't speak, because this time, he had no excuse left. Tears ran down his face. "I know," he whispered, "and I hate myself for it." He looked at Jayson. Sleeping. Fragile. "You gave him everything, while I gave him nothing." That night changed something. Not everything, but something. After that, George stopped talking so much. He just showed up. Every day, he learned the routines, the medications, the small things. He stayed through therapy sessions, held Jayson when it hurt, encouraged him when he was tired. And slowly, Jayson noticed. One afternoon, he looked at George and asked, "Are you really my daddy?" The room froze. George's voice shook. "Yes, I am. And I'm sorry I wasn't here before." Jayson didn't say anything. He just reached for his hand and held it. That one moment meant more than any apology. Amelia watched from the doorway. Her heart pulled in two directions: hope and fear. She wanted her son to have this, but she was scared. What if he leaves again? The thought wouldn't go away. Weeks passed, then months. Jayson got stronger, little by little. And George? He stayed. Not just in the hospital, but in their lives. He paid off their debts. But more importantly, he became present. Cooking breakfast, helping with homework, listening, really listening, not as a billionaire, but as a father. Still, Amelia kept her guard up.
Some nights,
She couldn't sleep. What if this is temporary? What if I trust him and lose everything again? Then came the moment that changed everything. It was a quiet evening. Jayson was outside, playing, laughing. Something Amelia hadn't heard in a long time. George stood beside her, watching him. Then he spoke. "I know I broke your trust." A pause. "And I know sorry will never fix that." He looked at her. "But I'm not the same man anymore." Another pause. "I've seen what real love looks like." He nodded toward Jayson. "You showed me that. If you give me one chance, I'll spend the rest of my life earning it." Amelia didn't answer right away. She looked at her son, then back at George. Tears filled her eyes. "I'm scared," she whispered. A pause. "But he deserves his father." Another pause. "And maybe we deserve a second chance." And just like that, healing began. Not perfect, not easy, but real. Time passed, and slowly, the pieces of their broken family started to come back together. But healing like this? It doesn't happen overnight. It wasn't easy. There were still hard days. Some nights, Amelia would wake up suddenly, heart racing, wondering, will he leave again? That fear never fully disappeared. And George? He carried his guilt in silence. Some dinners, he barely spoke, not because he didn't care, but because he didn't know how to fix what he had broken. But despite everything, they kept choosing each other, one day at a time. George changed, not with words, but with actions. He stepped back from major business deals. He showed up to school events, doctor visits. Every little moment, he learned how to cook Amelia's favorite meals. Weekend mornings became different, warmer. He helped around the house, things he had never done before, not because he had to,
but because he wanted to.
And Jayson? Jayson was the happiest of all. For the first time in his life, he had both his parents under the same roof. He would run to George after school, excited.
"Dad,
"Look what I made." Drawings, stories, little moments. And the boy who once asked, "Where's my daddy?" now proudly said, "My dad picks me up every day." That one sentence meant everything. Amelia watched it all,
carefully,
quietly. She was healing. But scars don't just disappear. Some evenings, after Jayson went to bed, they would sit outside together, talking. Honestly, one night, she finally said it. "I was angry for a long time. I had to be strong every day while you were living a completely different life." Her voice softened. It hurt. It still hurts sometimes. George didn't interrupt. "I don't expect you to forget," he said gently. "I just hope one day you can trust me again."
He took her hand.
"You and Jayson are the best thing that ever happened to me." A pause. "I was lost before.
Now,
I'm finally home." And for the first time, she believed him. Months passed, and slowly, Amelia let her guard down.
She did something.
She had dreamed of for years. She enrolled in nursing school. And George? He supported her completely. Picking Jayson up from school. Cooking dinner. Being present. Not perfect, but consistent. Their love didn't come back. Like a fairy tale. It didn't happen overnight. It grew. Quietly. Through small moments. Laughter. Late-night talks. Holding each other. On hard days. Learning to trust again. And then came the night. That changed everything. A warm spring evening. The same park where it all began. Jayson was playing nearby. Laughing.
Free.
George took Amelia's hand. Led her to the bench they once shared. Then he got down on one knee. Just like he promised. Amelia? His voice shook. I had everything and still felt empty. Because I didn't have you. I know I broke your heart. I know I don't deserve this. But if you'll have me, I want to spend my life loving you. The way you always deserved. I want to be the man you can count on. And the father Jayson is proud of. Tears filled her eyes. She looked at him, then at Jayson, watching with hope. All the pain, all the years, all the love. Right there in that moment, she smiled through tears. Yes. A soft whisper. We've waited long enough. And just like that, their story came full circle. Today, they live a simple life. Not a mansion, not luxury, but something better. A home filled with laughter, bedtime stories, Sunday pancakes. George still runs his businesses, but his priorities changed. Amelia became a nurse, working at the same hospital that once saved her son. And Jayson? He's happy, strong, loved by both his parents. Because in the end, true wealth isn't money. It's the people
Who stay.
It's the love you give when no one is watching. If you've watched this whole journey, I want to ask you something. Do you believe people can truly change? Or is some pain too deep to forgive? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If this story touched you, like, share, and subscribe for more real love stories. Remember, you're stronger than you think. And real love, it's always worth fighting for.